Amit ji, could you share the screen which you would be on which you have a presentation or something? Because if you share the restream screen, it probably creates an echo. So that is one thing. Probably we can just. Okay, so I believe we are live. Uh,
Hello.
yes, so I believe we are live and students are joining. Uh, those who students and faculty members, those who are joined through the YouTube, could you just give me a heads up as to uh, whether you are able to view me as of now and listen to my audio? Yes, so Neha ma'am has joined, Ananya has joined, and Manoj sir has joined, so that's good. So I believe other students, close to 30 students have already joined. I hope the students from other sections would also be joining shortly. Yes, so we have Sejal, Abhishek. Yes, so I hope so. This is a break from the previous process as we used to do. So we are using, since the audience is large, so we are not using Google Meet, and therefore you are expected to write your questions or your thoughts on the chat. So Gwal sir has also joined. So first, let me enable Gwal sir. Good afternoon, Gwal sir.
Good afternoon. Yes,
I
I can
hope.
hear you.
Okay. So
Hmm.
Harsha ma'am, I am again expecting her to join in a minute again. She was here, and we can then start. Sir.
Yes.
So
Has the guest come?
yes, he is here. So but
Okay.
I'll be just enabling his video in a moment's time. Harsha ma'am, are we good to go?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that
The
student, I would.
Mansi has joined, sir.
Mansi has not joined here at the restream.
She told sir she has joined. Actually, when I connect her, then I got disconnected from here. So then, should I
Okay.
call her?
No, no, I'll call her. Not an issue. Yeah, I'll just try to reach out. I don't. Yeah, I'll call her. Yeah,
I'll
okay.
one second.
Any other faculty member who could just reach out to Mansi?
1 minute, sir. I'll.
And ma'am, probably we would have to just mute the mics when we are not speaking in order to
Okay.
reduce. Yeah. So I expect all the students. Kapil is here. Rashi, Akshata, Anamika, Mayank. Yes. So I expect you listen to the speaker very carefully and do ask your questions, because that is what the ultimate objective of any such exercise is, that we should have learning.
Uh, Excuse me, Kinjal, sir. She has
Yeah,
joined. She's telling me. So
okay,
please
yeah,
confirm that.
yeah, she's here. So, okay, fine. Yeah, I'm enabling her. So, yes, Mansi is here. So, probably she'll be starting with the formalities.
Yes.
Okay.
Mansi, you can start, Mansi.
Yeah, Mansi,
A very
please enable your video, and yeah, you are good to go.
Sir, voice is audible.
yes,
A
yes.
very
You
warm good
can.
afternoon. A very warm good afternoon to one present over here. I welcome you all to the guest lecture on the topic product income, and portfolio management.
Ma'am, I believe there is some bandwidth issue at her end. That's why the video is not buffering. So if you could briefly just introduce, that would do as well, I believe. Uh, we have lost her, so her connection is lost. So probably, ma'am, if you could just briefly introduce, that would do.
This gives me an opportunity to welcome our guest for the session. The session Asset Product Income and Portfolio Management. Our guest, Mr. Amit Binwani, sir, is working affluent business relation manager with Yes Bank, Mumbai. He is experienced in diversified products such as portfolio management, mutual funds, insurance, and he has more than 5 years of working experience. So I also welcome our respectable Dean sir, Dr. Manish Jain sir, and all the faculty members and the participants of the session. Now I request Amit sir to start with the session.
Okay. Thanks for such a quick introduction, and thanks, Mansi, as well. Ahead, we are good to go. So we will be directly put. I'm just taking to the slides. I have made a very short presentation for each one of you to just have understanding of how banks are and how banks function across in the industry. So there. So the discussion of today's topic is asset product and income and portfolio management. Uh, uh, there, I go ahead. We are puzzled with banks across. When we walk out, we see a lot of ATMs, a lot of other services, all of joints like where money exchange and everything occurs. But do we know as in where do banks as a word come from? So bank as a word has derived its ancient origin from banki, which is like a word found in Italy, where a money exchange, a traders used to do a money exchange out there, and there happens to be like this a table which they call as a banque. So banque as a word has come from banki, okay, and so has been evolved and as like now we call it as a bank. So bank, likely bank, what is banking? I would say banking is nothing but it's just accepting a deposit. It's just accepting a deposits of public, of a general public, corporates and corporations for the purpose of further lending or the investment. Certainly, it involves a lot of deposits of money, which are also repayable on demand or say likely otherwise of likely a tenure after completion of a tenure, or which are also withdrawal by the check or draft or otherwise as like which is defined under the Banking Regulation Act 1949, which defines this as a banking. So banking company is nothing, any company which does transact a business of banking is known as a banking company. So ahead of it, to monitor this, there are certain regulations and policies to go, and therein a banking likely has mean wherein any policy which is defined from time frame to frame, which has been completely regulated by RBI, which is Apex Bank of India, and which monitors all the bank transactions across and which monitor the interest rate fluctuations and which define the stability in the which ensures the economy growth. And so like so this is the head office where which was likely built almost like 85 years ago, uh, which was formed under British governance, wherein this was a central bank which was merged, which was earlier known as the Imperial Bank of India, which you might be reading in your books and across, which was a merger of three major banks. And
Excuse me,
downstairs
Amit sir.
is
Yeah,
yeah,
probably we wish to share the screen, right? You wish to share a presentation?
yeah,
So you will have to just click the share screen, and probably it's not visible as of now.
it's
Yeah,
not with. Oh,
yeah,
okay, I'll do that. Just a
yeah.
moment.
And yeah, and one you please थोड़ा सा loud आपको थोड़ा सा रखना पड़ेगा. Yeah.
Okay,
हाँ.
okay.
Just reminding what we were just checking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not
Yeah.
a problem.
Yeah. So this I'll just enable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So now is the presentation viewable to everyone? Now
and it is
it
it,
is.
it
It
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I hope the
The
students on
students
YouTube
on YouTube
give a heads
give a
up.
heads up. Okay. So you want me to again restart or something of that sort, or should I go ahead?
Please
Please
continue.
continue. Okay, okay. So this was likely a small image which I took it what I called as a banky, as this was an earlier table which is likely ancient picture in Italy, which wherein a money trade happens to be, and so this word bank has come from, wherein bank is essentially into the business of accepting and likely a purpose of lending or for the investment purpose, which take deposits from all the general public or corporations or companies which are otherwise repayable on demand or withdrawal by check or otherwise. Okay. This was defined under Section 5 of Indian Banking Regulation Act. So this was a policy, this is a regulatory policy which was defined from time to time under RBI guidance, which was being taken ahead every. Uh, so like there is a six-member committee, which is a monetary committee, which gives inputs to RBI, and basis that RBI regulates a banking policy, and they define CRR and statutory ratios to be followed by all the banks to operate within the territory of India. So this is a small picture of central bank, and which was set up almost like 85 years ago, which has a current beautiful reserves of almost like 38 lakh 30,000 crores, which is like nearly 540 billion. And so like our economy is growing, and which has been chaired by the picture of Mr. Shashikant. And so like he is taking care of every regulatory aspect of the all the banks and defining the policy, and so like he is also a co-official member of monetary committee, so he gives us inputs along with other board six-member committee. So it would be beautiful to know that this was a bank which was set up during the British era, and so like you might not be knowing who is the first. Anybody know as in like who is the first bank? Who is the first official who took this RBI likely as a chairperson? So anybody amongst the audience, I would be very enlightened if somebody can tell me. Hello, hello,
Yes. Anyone from the
anyone from the audience. So Okay, so I'll tell if if it's likely nobody is known to the fact. Obviously, it is a British banker which named Hobson Smith. He was the first person who took this privilege to take RBI setup and formation of the bank, which was earlier known as a central bank and later known as the RBI after formation of an act under Reserve Bank of India Regulation Act 1934. And so this bank was established on 1st of April 1935. It's almost like 85 years ago. So obviously, ahead of it, the first Indian who took this chair desk was C.D. Deshmukh, who was the one who took this chairmanship to take a regulatory framework to define the policies to manage all the banks and take ahead a policy to regulate them. So as I said, there are almost like three ex-officio members in the likely MPC, which Monetary Policy Committee, which is formed under RBI, and wherein the governor is Shashikant Das. He is obviously an ex-official member of this, who takes ahead, and also a governor in charge of this policy. Um, Followed by Mikhail Batra and the executive director Janak Raj. This panel is completely reporting to governor of RBI, and he takes ahead a policy framework and take the inputs from the markets by seeing the parameters and a lot of economic factors and likely inflation and say like other factors which are towards a particular segment economy or likely to be impacting our economy in some or some fashion. So these are the current ratios which I am just likely so in the this I have put up as a slide wherein it shows just the highlight of recent December policy meet which has happened, and so like this was the outcome wherein the policy repo rate which remained 4%. Reverse repo rate was 3.35. It was a status quo, and RBI decided to accommodate for the considering the inflation. They have decided to just take it forward ahead on the status quo. So these are just the rates which I just got from RBI site, and everybody have an access to it. So these are the rates which are published every day on the site. Generally, these are the government security rates on the right side of it. You can see it, the money market rates, the government security market rate. Anybody from the audience have any question? What about the portfolio management? Does it mean? Okay, okay. Mansi, we will get to go ahead towards the policy management, towards the portfolio management. This was just a brief about the bank and how it was any digital experience. I never saw any digital appearance of Yes Bank. There is any reason behind it. So Vinod is asking me, I never saw any digital appearance. As in, like digital appearance, it was there. It was always there, and we have been like there for. We were always there with the digital platform, and we, as a bank, we work as a policy wherein we are more digitized. And if you see our UPI payments and other gateway, we are more likely if you see the charts and everything from the perspective of the documents, everything we are reduced and we have more gone towards a digital experience. We have also come up with the digital lockers and all other services which are there, which banks facilitate today. And so, like any other thing, Kumar, you want to highlight out of this question because your question is little. Vinod.
Yeah. Amit, you could first explain the topic of the today's lecture. So then we will have the questions.
Okay, okay. Okay, so asset product income. Okay, I'll take it ahead towards asset product income. I was just defining that. So asset asset product income. Asset is nothing. It's a resource which has economic value and own or controlled, which has some future benefit. Asset product income is nothing but which banks earn by lending to different product which bank has to offer to us. Okay. There are different classes of assets, which includes fixed income securities, equity, real estate, derivatives, which involves cash and cash equivalent, your liquid assets, obviously. Um, so these are the what I call as a asset. Likely, a asset is nothing but it's a liquid asset that gives a value out of any contractual rights which we give. So likely, if I say, if I put up an example, we are doing we as a bank, we do fund to a lot of institutions and corporations in terms of different arrangement and contractuals basis with we offer them a term loan or say like a working capital facilities wherein these incomes are essentially known as a bank asset income. Okay. um, so we'll take it forward. In current scenarios of banking, we have a lot of products to offer which are there on your screen so you can view that. Likely a bank offers a fixed deposit which we take the deposits from public and we offer to the as in form of a business loan, vehicle loan, home loan, and all of the services, likely even a short term funding if any new incubation or likely a new startup is seeking some funds to start their business. That is essentially in the bank books is called as a bank asset income. Okay. So taking it forward, I believe, and current, these are the basic functions of the commercial bank, which banks just provide. So these are likely what I said, and I would not like to reiterate the same. It is just more or less the same, wherein we built on the asset by taking the deposits in form of a savings and current account or in form of any term deposit. So which are also known as the FDs or a recurring deposits from all the saving holders. And so like we take it forward to towards a contractual agreement to lend it to corporations or to any institutions, even to individuals, to towards the arrangement of short-term and medium-term loan financing, what we call that. So currently, these are like a type of a banks currently India has, and this is just a steep chart which you can just look ahead and anybody have any questions? Okay, so I'll take it forward then ahead. So so this is what I said, and so as like from the bank, we manage equitable portion and being a part of our economic function. We do a lot of economic activities which involves exchange of money from somebody who is called as a depositor to somebody who we called as a requirement and we call them whom we lend it to are or borrowers. So borrowers gives us a income which we call as a asset income in the bank books. So likely if you see any corporate, if you might have been viewing your balance sheet, you can view this balance sheet as like in on the right hand side of it I have mentioned. So they are like non-current assets on the left hand side towards the liability side, whereas in the bank the loans which banks has lent, that comes on the asset side. So this is the broad difference of any corporate institutions wherein you can see a balance sheet, whereas a bank in the bank books, these loans forms their asset. Okay, and these loans forms the corpus wherein a bank earns. Anybody have this question? Why bank? Why in the balance sheet it's on the asset side, whereas by default in the balance sheet it's likely on the other side when it comes to corporates or any other individual balance sheets of any individual. Hello.
Yeah, yeah. I hope students would have a few questions. Mhm. There's a timeline the way that when it get the head on straight.
Sir, can you explain what is asset? You can ask this question. I will just make it more interactive. Okay. Anybody have any question? Should we go ahead? Okay. Okay. This is what the balance sheet of any bank look like, and which you can see in the screen probably, which involves on the asset side it's loans, trading assets and properties, whereas on the liability side those are like deposits. Okay, deposits which we took from a lot of people of your saving and your family savings and other general public. And on the liability side they are otherwise as a trading liabilities. People have hedged us those liabilities, or any debt or borrowings which as a bank we take, likely a loan or any short-term loan from RBI or anything which comes on the liability side of the bank balance sheet, which is not the case of a normal corporate, whereas the bank balance sheet is different than that of a normal corporate or any individual balance sheet. So I'll take it forward. So therein, any loan which we called as asset are in form of a two, wherein one is secured and one is unsecured. Uh, Secured loan is nothing but which is secured or backed by any asset of that particular individual or corporate, likely or uh, any asset which has a value or has an economic value, likely even if it's a FD or what we call as a term deposit in the banking parlance. So that is against that we also offer a loan which we call as an overdraft against FD. So this comes under the banking parlance. So these are the types of typically a type of secured and unsecured loans which we offer in form of anything a person would like to do, or even a home refurbishing or any kind of vacation. If somebody is planning to, we offer them a loan. We offer them a pension loan. We offer them any kind of a medical loan. Anything else happens to it. We offer even a loan in form of a personal loan to somebody who is willing to have coming years a marriage, or somebody is planning to have some trip or likely. So he can have to have a personal loan in scenarios, wherein the major portion where bank focus on is SME loan, which we call as a small and medium business loan, which is again saying that it is a asset income to the bank. So these are the typically business loan, which are types of a business loan. So going ahead, I'll take it forward. Not will be taking much of your time all. So these are like one is the first one is term loan, which is majorly large, which has a one-time expense for somebody who's trying to have this loan relationship, as in a contractual relationship which happens with the bank and the person who is a borrower from the bank. And the other different types of loans are equipment financing. Some if somebody is starting a venture and they wish to have or somebody, a doctor or a professional person who wishes to start their own setup, and they wanted to purchase some machinery which is like expensive, likely costing 50 or even a crore. In that case,
Okay, it seems that we have lost the speaker. I hope he's able to connect again soon. Uh, yes. So, am I visible and am I audible for now? I hope we are able to connect with Amit sir soon, shortly. Ma'am, do you know what happened immediately? So I can see few questions uh, now. Ma'am, I believe Amit sir has got disconnected.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I can see few questions uh, now. Ma'am, I believe
Sir,
Amit sir has got
I
disconnected.
I call him, sir. Just give me a minute, huh?
Okay. Sure. So I can see few questions. Uh, Yeah, so Ananya has a question. What are the necessary steps Yes Bank takes for grabbing trust and attention of their customers? Yes, so definitely the whole banking, if you or finance, or for that matter, any market is based on the bedrock of trust. If there is trust, there would be transactions. If the level of trust decrease, obviously people there would be, people would commit fraud, people would be apprehensive of putting their money into different instruments. So what specifically Yes Bank has done is something which we would, or the I mean, a person from Yes Bank can answer. But that is why one must understand that why banking, those who could open a bank, is highly guarded by Reserve Bank or the central bank of any country. Why? Because it's a very important and a very profoundly important to vet as to who should get a banking license. Because at the end of the day, what a bank is doing is channeling the savings of thousands of people into investment, and hence it is all based on trust. We have another question. Does the disinvestment in public sector banks is going to affect private sector banks? So definitely, since if you look at the banking industry as it is structured in India today, or for, let's say, for the considerable decades since the nationalization of banks happened in 1969, preponderance of the PSU banks, the scheduled commercial banks. Okay. Now, yes, so there are issues related to those banks. Some have for long have been, in bad shape financially. And so there are two ways to look at it. One would say that we should have more private banks. The other way of looking at it is no, that PSUs, or the, let's say, the public banks, are not just for profit making. They have some social or economic, social objectives as well. So that the important point is how and where the credit flows in the economy is a very important. It's something, at the end of the day, if it's purely or if it's purely business oriented, the capital or the funds would go where it will get the highest return on investment. Okay, so probably which will make more money. Now, as a society or as a country, there are some, that's one part of the puzzle. There are other aspects of economy where probably they are traditionally not linked to easy capital flows, easy credit availability. So how do you balance both of these competing objectives? And that is where the question of this comes in. So I hope Amit sir has joined again. So we'll just listen to him.
for inconvenience.
Yeah, no, not an issue. So Amit sir, there are few questions which have come up.
Okay.
Yeah. So
The,
uh,
so you have to just tell, like, you have to just say what is there because
I am not able to. Probably you'll have to just speak a bit louder. You are.
am I audible now?
Yeah. Now you are, to an extent. Yes. Yes.
Okay, okay. So Vinod has asked me a question. We saw many banks like HDFC, SBI collaborate with Amazon, Flipkart. Yes, Bank has any collaboration with any other brands? Yes, we do have. We have couple of good collaborations towards a corporate. So towards a card segment which we service to, and also likely if you see many discounts towards a Yes Bank credit card, if you view towards site, there are certain promotional campaigns which as a bank we do run, and we functions like that.
Was another question by another student. So they were asking about the difference between public PSU banks and the private banks. So since the government is disinvesting,
Okay.
so what are the implications? So probably if you could briefly touch upon that, if it's possible.
Okay, okay. Briefly touching about this investment side, that is completely government their own decision to divest and to integrate the economy with such a function that like which work ahead, unlike which is working in the traditional fashion which used to work with. Likely, if you see today in today's scenario, currently banks are working in very new trends which are coming up, likely digital and other facilities wherein connecting. Going ahead, you can probably see the banks which having a very small branches wherein the works goes very digital, like it's there in US markets and all, wherein you need not to walk into the branch to just do a deposit, wherein like we have never ever thought about it. Likely we will be stepping into the ATM counter and would be depositing and getting just a slip, the deposit slip out there, and it's just get within the account and likely a transaction part as well. Likely if you see we have like come up like earlier we used to just walk in a queue and stand next to in a queue, you know, traditional fashion of a banking wherein we used to do a remittance or a transfer to any person, other person maybe in India or maybe abroad. We have to wait with a lot of documentation fees. Whereas bank has now come up with a lot of services wherein it is everything is digitized, and everybody who is just they can just scan it and everything done on via basis of simple OTP over your phone. So that is where a change has come up from, and this is completely a government decision to take it forward. towards a disinvestment and integration of those banks with current requirements, likely in terms of a technology, in terms of expertise, and in terms of different human resource, or maybe likely other public and likely a public deposits, and to take it forward. So
So Sahil also probably wish to ask what is the difference between Yes Bank, or let's say what's the difference between working at Yes Bank and other banks. Probably
okay,
that is what his question is.
okay. What is the X factor about Yes Bank which I think make differs from other banks is another question from Ananya. So answering to the first question, obviously working with Yes Bank, it's feel proud because I am being associated here with last 4 years, and I am a proud Yes Bank, I should say, and wherein the likely a culture wherein within the Yes Bank it's very different. It is more pro towards learning, and it gives you expertise towards various products in a single sitting in the branch. You have an access to different departments. You have experts out there who supports you. You have your mentors out there. You have your reportings who comes, who takes your reviews, who takes you towards grooming skills, and obviously take it forward in your life and your career growth. So about Yes Bank, I see a near bright future. Reason being, you might be knowing to the fact that we have gone through a moratorium during March, and because Yes Bank was likely in a turnaround phase, and now with SBI as being on our board, we are fairly good to take it forward and to capture the market. So, answering to the second question, what is the X factor about Yes Bank which you think make it different? Yes, Yes Bank is more like a digital bank. We doesn't work on a fashion. We facilitate customers at their doorsteps. As in a Yes Bank, they hire a different channels, likely a relationship channel and an acquisition channel, which are the two channels. Wherein I am part of affluent channel, and there is another channel which we call as the acquisition channel. Ahead of it, also likely there are departmental channels which take care of customers at their doorstep, giving them all the digitalized services, wherein facilitating them towards the net banking, online transfers, UPI payments, on all other gateways in terms of a collection product as well. So we have a master for collection products as well. Collection, I mean to say, if you everybody walks down to say like everybody does a electricity bill payment in these days. You just scan and give it, right, by your UPI. As like a person who is a customer who is providing their services, likely if I call it as a Mahanagar Gas or any electricity board, they seek our services in terms of this collection product, and they get all the details of the customer who is sending them. So these are all unique services as in the Yes Bank offers, and so we are better. Any other questions? Anyone has? Should I move on to slide?
Yeah, you can please
Okay,
continue.
okay.
Yeah.
So this I was talking about different kind of a loan wherein we went through, and now I'm back. So there are like invoice discounting, which we call as, wherein we as a customer, we facilitate them towards advance or unpaid invoices, which are not paid, but which we factor and we give them a loan, which we called as like invoice factoring. There is also known as invoice financing, wherein and you might be walking into any restaurant or something, wherein upon your bills, that collections which that restaurant itself does, we give them a loan onto those collections. of their unpaid receipts or their unpaid amounts which are yet to be credited to them in their respective business accounts. So moving ahead, we have like a merchant cash advances services wherein we have an access to a lot of revenues in form of a credit card sales. We that even your credit card, what you use or even your parents use, they are a merchant cash advance, which we offers as like which as a bank we get asset, which is an asset in the books of bank and which gives us a revenue. So ahead is like a CGTMSE, which is a unique kind of a product which bank offers, which is also a government-backed loan to facilitate a lot of small and medium enterprises, and which is formed as a unique product under a project named Udan, Udan, wherein it is the CGTMXE itself is a central government fund trust which facilitate these all customers to get a low rate low rate interest loan to run their businesses or to run their new startups. Okay. Uh, so generally loans we talk about a lot of businesses. So in businesses, they seek a lot of loan in form of a tenure they frame and which is segregated in three terms, which are generally long, medium, or short term. So long is one wherein a bank requires any land or trying to buy any other infrastructure or build any kind of thing wherein a huge capital is required. So those loans are long term, whereas all other recurring expenses and so banks provide these loans majorly to the medium and small corporations uh, in form of different products in form of a different contractual agreements as banks and the borrowers agreed upon. So during March, we have heard about Yes Bank crisis. What was it all about? Okay. Sahil has a very good question. It was nothing about crisis, I would say. It was a bank requirement, likely to run any institution or any organization. We do require a lot of capital to run that, and so like as a bank, we were required a lot of funds to run a bank. And so, because of certain bad calls which were taken in the past by corporate likely a corporate governance and the board, we went a little unsuccessful, and wherein we find the recovery has to happen, and so likely it's later it's gone ahead, and we have gone support from government bank backing SBI us, and today we are good to go with a lot of very good vigor and so like anything any other questions I have? Is this answers your question? Okay.
Yeah, probably you answered. Yeah.
Hello sir, I'm Ankesh. Which are the best bank? Okay, Ankesh, you would be the best person to tell me which is the best bank in India to work with. Obviously, I would say there are good private players. So the question is on to you. Which bank would you love to work with? Probably HDFC or ICICI or Yes Bank, or even other banks like they're in a league, which is Access and IDFC and lot more. So it all depends upon your interest to work upon and build your career ahead. SBI, okay. Okay, so for SBI, you have to appear for a probationary officer or other exam, likely which SBI conducts. And so after clearing those, you can take it ahead.
So probably you could share with them as to what is the most likely way of working with private banks. So apart from they would be aware of the exams for SBI and others, but how do you work with the private banks? Probably you could just have a share them this
Okay,
insight.
okay. So private banks, these are the mass banks wherein you get a lot of like mentorship, learning, and to get to have a market opportunity which is not seized by all those public sector banks, facilitating towards the market framework and getting that market, which is what private banks work upon. And so, like, unlike wherein in a traditional pattern which likely a public sector banks do work in the past, uh, wherein they are queues in a line, whereas like the other banks, wherein they have facilitated them towards the online platform, digital platforms, transfers and UPIs and lot more about. So, which makes a difference between a private bank and yes bank. Ananya, yes, I would suggest to join a Yes Bank because it has a very bright future and you can probably feel better when you are there. And there is a lot to learn, lot to unplug, and a lot to explore about a bank and two banking functions wherein you might not be knowing to it. Anyone have any questions ahead?
Okay, Harsha ma'am, would you like to add something?
Yes, sir, surely. I just wanted to ask Amit sir, like today we require multi skills like in various sectors. So in banks also we require multi skills. Like nowadays we are into finance, but we do marketing of products. So can you please like show some light on this and guide the students about this?
Okay. Multi, what ma'am have said rightly, uh, multi, say like multi mix of lot of probably youthness and lot of other activities what we as like in a banking in a private sector space we as like maybe H Bank or I Bank we perform. We differentiate ourselves from other banks. We act, we being a manager or other of my companions or my colleagues who are there within the bank, we work in a different tradition itself, wherein we endorse ourselves as a brand ambassador of that particular bank whom we are associated with. And we follow their discipline, we follow their policies, and we take it forward to grab those markets which are untapped or which has that potential to have been serviced ahead of those which are not being serviced yet. So, which makes grabbing opportunity what a bank analyze and what bank that's because the bank hires youth and people from colleges they are very pro to hire from colleges and so like they as private sector banks do hire and they take ahead those opportunities which are untapped in the market. And with a multidisciplinary approach, I mean to say, there you are associated with a lot of other functions of the bank, maybe those CSR activities, maybe those other activities, as in like with the bank which they perform, and they train you. They have their game coach, game goals, a lot of activities to change the market dynamics, to change the surroundings near and around you. That makes a difference, and that is what a bank as like market to change something for the better.
Yes, very, very correctly said, sir. Just one more thing I wanted to ask, like in this current pandemic, when all the sectors are affected, do you think the banks are also affected to some extent?
Yes, to answering this two question, these are two different piece of a question. Yes, pandemic has impacted everyone's life, and to an extent, since lives are impacted, businesses are impacted because businesses are driven by those lives or livelihood of those people whom we cater or whom they cater to in terms of the corporations or institutions or likely colleges, likely your institution or other institutions ahead in the economy. So economic framework works mingled in form of everybody is interwoven in some or other fashion, wherein even your buying fashion is could be somebody's supply fashion or even somebody's supply fashion could be your buying fashion. It all makes a difference, creating a market, and that's where a buy and sell happens, and that's what our economic activities require in these scenarios. Yes, pandemic has impacted all the banks, not one bank, in all the banking industry. All the businesses were impacted. With the sectoral influence, with a lot of other changes which has happened in there, because somebody who has a traditional function, likely of, if I talk about an example of your institution, you used to have a students coming in grabbing a seat next to and having chatting with somebody next to likely a colleague or somebody. But then the change has come up wherein we have now interrelated and interconnected over the digital platforms, which is a broad change which I see and which is also a future.
Okay, sir. I got it. Yes. So there is a question like SDFC Bank is the biggest competitor of Yes Bank. A student is asking.
Okay, HDFC Bank is not a biggest competitor of bank. It is a bank which has their roots long back. They are much stable bank. They have their own discipline wherein they work with their own teams that perform. They have their own departments which are working ahead. And at Yes Bank, I feel there is no comparison in terms of banks with having mass capital, wherein a bank which is just having a turnaround and seeing a future growth ahead to grab the both opportunities.
So, sir, do you want to continue with anything like, or we can end the session?
Yeah, we can.
Probably we can sum up. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Uh, is Mansi is there?
Yeah, I'll just enable Mansi. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Mansi, go ahead. You wish to. Ma'am, is she?
I think, sir, she was here, sir, but I
She's
think
there.
maybe.
She's on live. She's live.
Okay.
I believe she has some net connectivity issue, so that's why we are not able to hear or see her.
Okay. Okay. No issues. Then I take this opportunity to thank Amit sir for giving us his valuable time, and I thank him on behalf of Acropolis Institute of Agriculture
Hello.
and Management
Oh,
Science.
Mansi is there. Okay, let her
She's
come.
there. Okay, sir. Okay.
Uh, Sorry for the net issue. I, on the behalf of Acropolis family, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to Mr. Amit Binwani sir for gracing his important work and sharing with us his findings and opinions. Thank you very much, sir. I also thank Dean sir, all the faculty members, and participants to the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. It was a very interactive session. Really
Thank you,
enjoyed it.
sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Amit sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks to all the participants, all the students who have joined here, and those who were participative. As you can see, your comments were showed on the screen as well. So we hope we would have more such interactive sessions in future.
Yes, surely. Thank you, Kinjal sir.
So, thank you.
Okay.